Well, guys, we did it. We reached 95,000 subscribers. So we have picked a lucky winner who has won that Katachan kernel. Whoa! Right. We've got to get to 100,000 now. Okay, this is it. We know it's possible. So let's get to 100,000. Please, please help us by sharing this video, getting your friends to subscribe. We're going to do a massive giveaway for the 100,000. Okay. We're going to do something massive for the 100,000. So get the subscribers in, and then just like this one, we'll be picking a random subscriber. We know it's still going to take us some weeks to get there, but please, please help. And we're going to blow your socks off with the prize for this one, for the giveaway. It's going to be awesome. Right. It's time for a tour of all things gaming that happened this week, because the weekend starts now. Hi, guys, and welcome to the Weekender. Jerry, myself, and Brother Lloyd
Hola.
show this week. Ben is having a well-earned, I don't know, is it a break? Is it a break? I don't know if it's a break. He's on something anyway. Probably on Badgers. I think Ben is on Badgers.
Chewed through his chain and escaped the backyard. Unfortunately, his break just coincided with Birmingham going on lockdown again.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I'm on holidays. I can't leave the house.
No, you're not. Well, he'll get plenty of painting done, so we'll see.
That's true. Yeah.
We'll see what he does when he actually crawls out of his burrow again.
Maybe he'll win a golden button if he's good.
Right, guys. The PathOfConquest has launched. It's an online slow grow league that we are participating in, along with Parabellum Games, for Conquest, the last argument of kings. So basically what happens is over the next weeks, couple of months, we're setting milestones where we are building up our armies, and we're going to unlock achievements and things like that as we work through the whole process of building the army. So if you want to get involved in that, it's not too late. You can just jump in at any point, okay, and get involved. So just come on over to OnTableTop.com, and you'll see on the homepage there some stuff about PathOfConquest, and you can just get stuck in.
Well, at the minute, if you visit, you'll see a big banner. You just click that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that will take you straight into the Conquest section of the website.
Yeah.
And then you can see the game rating, what the guys have been up to with their milestones, and all the news and stuff related to the game. So, well worth checking out.
Yeah, people are starting to get stuck in and make some projects of their own as well. So
yep. Now I will mention that we're keeping the Slow Grow League fairly flexible. Okay, so although we're looking at the likes of milestones every couple of weeks or so, we may extend that at different points during the hobby league, just to give people time to catch up, or other events and stuff to slot in there, like Christmas and whatever else. So, I got stuck in this week.
Ooh.
And I managed to get 8 guys clipped off and then got distracted.
Hence why it's being kept flexible.
I know I'm the worst for this.
But, put something on the TV.
Look,
I don't know if you are the worst for this, because Facebook keeps kind of reminding me of projects I've started. Here's something you did 2 years ago, and I look over and go, it's still not finished. Here's something else you did 2 years ago. Here's something you started 1 year ago. Oh.
Yeah, it was one of those cases. So I have my milestone. I know what I have to do. So I have a couple of squads of militia to build, and some knights. So I thought to myself, I'll get stuck into the militia. So I started clipping them off, and then I was about to glue them to their bases, and I thought to myself, oh no, I want to scenic base this. I want to do something nice on the base.
Different.
So I went and had a cup of tea.
Something like Jerry does for his ogres. And if you haven't seen Jerry's ogres, you're missing XLBS.
Yes. I went and had a cup of tea, and I sat and I mulled it over. And if you bring up my project, Lloyd, I can talk you through where I've been headed with this. It's basic, but I'm kind of happy so far. I'm kind of happy. You know, I love basing. For me, because I'm such a below average painter, it's the basing that gives me half a chance of the army looking like something, looking coherent. I've decided to theme. Yeah. So what I did, Lloyd, I thought, right, I'm going to theme this army.
Yeah.
There's city states and stuff like that throughout the kingdoms in Conquest. And I thought to myself, why don't I theme this on our historical ancestors, the Johnstons? So Johnstons derive from John Stones, which derived from John Stone at some point. They were in around the 1600s. They were a clan in Scotland, ended up in Annandale as a kind of a clan. And the head of the clan around that time was Gilbert John Stone, or so Gilly for short. So I thought to myself, right, why don't I theme this around the House of Stone? Okay, so
I thought you said you were going to start doing it all tartan. That's what I'm hoping for.
No. no. That would be too obvious.
Oh,
unless I could get tartan flavored dip.
The real reason, though, is the Johnston tartan's just not that exciting.
no.
It's nice. The Johnston tartan is green and
just
yellow.
great. It's very little yellow in it. It's mostly green with another shade of green and a tiny line of yellow.
It has exactly the right amount of yellow.
I think there might be. Is there any blue in it, or is it just green?
I don't remember. You can search for it while I blether. Okay. So I thought the House of Johnston. The House of Stone. So I thought to myself, right, I have a real kind of. I don't want to set it in the Scottish Highlands. Mm-hmm. I just want to reimagine this completely. So I got a Game of Thrones kind of vibe to this, right? So I thought to myself, what if I make them kind of Lannister-like, right? So that they are actually wealthy, but really kind of dodgy, really dodgy, like brother and sister kind of level dodgy. Okay?
Like rich people are.
Yes. It's incense, Rodney. It's incense. So it's like, the
Damn you, rich people.
The House of Stone is going to be a city-state on the coast called the Castle Rock.
Right.
Okay.
So let's have a look at this. Is this castle here a real one from Scotland?
So that was a photograph, of a castle that I passed through a Renaissance art,
like an AI art
online.
Thing.
Yeah, so it's like an AI Renaissance art kind of a thing online, and it spat that out, and I thought that's awesome.
Yeah, that's very nice.
I think that's awesome. So that is castles. That is the castle on the rock, in the Castle Rock.
Yeah, I got your tartan, by the way. Before we move on, there you go.
Did you find the tartan? There it is. Look. There's not a darn thing wrong with that tartan.
Yeah, it's goblin green and scorpion turquoise. You're right. Mm-hmm. Or hawk turquoise.
But it's not. It's not.
Okay, that's a better tartan.
This would be amazing.
I looked at that Sikh tartan. No.
Okay, so the House of Stone. So it's a city states. Then I got to thinking about a Lannister kind of a thing. So it's going to be a kind of like a sunny kind of a climate. You know, I'm not going to set them in winter.
A sunny Scottish castle.
It's not Scottish anymore.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's not Scottish anymore. I'm just, it's like clay. It's like green stuff. I'm just molding it together.
Ship. Yeah.
So the Castle Rock is in a kind of a south of England kind of sunny, kind of nice and warm. Of a climate.
Change from Spain to the south of England.
So, if you go back to my project, now,
so it's like El Dorado.
No, it's not like El Dorado. Okay, maybe a little bit like El Dorado.
El Dorado was a crap TV show. Look it up, folks. Look it up.
Don't look it up.
So, if you scroll down, so I got to clipping. This is my milestone 1. Keep going. This is me talking about my milestone 1. Keep going. This is a picture of militia. This is the sprues for militia. This is the clipping of militia. Okay, you don't need to bring these up.
Look at these. Look at amazing sprues. Look at Warren's amazing clipping. Here, you even got a nice mold remover.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I plan to do this right. I plan to do this right. Okay, and then I got distracted.
Wow.
Oh, whoa. Hang on. So I want to do something basing wise. So I'm planning on having them fighting through the streets of their own city state. So they're fighting through the streets of the Castle Rock. Okay. And so I went into Tinkercad and I made this.
Yeah. How the heck does Tinkercad had an upgrade recently? Because you're doing all this nice texture type stuff. Yeah, it's not even texture, but it's like modeled textures and stuff now.
Yeah. So Tinkercad has like brick wall kind of options and stuff like that, and you can tweak the parameters and the likes.
Right.
So I was able to create that. So that and my trusty calipers. Everybody knows I barely go anywhere now without my calipers. I'm just a huge fan of calipers. They're the best thing ever. So if anybody ever wants to buy me like a birthday present or a Christmas present from now on,
just more calipers.
Just more calipers. I just need calipers and a caliper belt. Okay, if I could get a caliper belt or a caliper bandolier,
fetch me my finest calipers.
So I started to model that, and I thought to myself, I'm going to have them rocking through cobble streets. So I modeled it up and I exaggerated the cobble. So if you scroll down, it's quite exaggerated there, and I started to print it, and it just wasn't working.
This wasn't working. It looks quite nice.
That looks really nice.
Yeah, you can see that the cobbles were being squished, and it was because I was printing it flat to the base plate. So I then
this is 2 different prints then.
Yes, so I the first one was try 1.
Yeah.
I then made it thinner.
Yeah.
Try 2, and then try 3. I repositioned it. So I took it instead of having it flat on the base plate, I placed it at an angle and placed supports under it because I thought I'll get the definition better. I'll get the definition that I'm actually after if I print it this way because it's more the tolerance is easier, and there it is. Now, yes,
you're gonna hate me and Jerry, but we're probably gonna go. We like this better.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it yet. Okay. So that's a little bit. So it is. It definitely came out as exaggerated. That looks exactly like it did in the app. Tinkercad, okay. Yeah. But I designed it that way for a reason. So if you can see, then you can see how the guys and stuff are going to pop onto it. So, and I can always go back and redesign it again. Now that
are you going to grout this?
Yeah. Where do you see? So I think that has the makings of a cool basing idea, Jerry. I think this will be a nice theme for the project. So I then moved to adding my texture between the cobbles because I couldn't model it in 3D. So this was my opportunity to actually do a little bit of real hobby rather than 3D hobby. So the process is I have a little bit of slightly watered down PVA. Apply it liberally. Okay, the surface tension keeps the PVA in the areas that you want, so it's not really spilling over. And then sprinkle sand, and then a wet sponge just to lift the top.
Yeah, take it off
to clean it off the blocks. So that's me. That's me kit there for doing it. And I think once that has a layer of paint on it, that's going to be the hairy dogs.
Yeah.
And then I dashed out because I think I have this dyspraxia thing, right? So it's not just a case of me dropping models. I reckon I have an honest to goodness excuse for dropping models.
Mm-hmm.
But I find, as I've mentioned many times, that a model with a bit of heft to it, I find it easier to hold and to manipulate than very light models. So 2Ps wouldn't fit in these bases. And you'll notice that.
Look at how empty that pot is. You've been knocking that over a few times.
Yes, I have knocked that over a few times. You look at how messy that desk is. So you could go back through all my photographs and just see the mess of the desk.
We could go back through them all and just watch the levels of all these contrasts.
Yes.
Rock dramatically. Oh, bollocks! Flipping knocked it over again.
The amount of contrast paint that I spill.
Yeah. You should print yourself something useful and print one of them holders.
I got a holder.
Where is it? Use it.
One of the
triangular
GW three-way
ones.
holder. But it's a hassle of sticking it in and out, and it's hard to take it out to shake it again.
Yeah.
Anyway, the washers I picked up from B&Q, and if you go back to the photographs of the washers, it's amazing. The washers are absolutely perfect for Parabellum infantry bases, because they ignore that little nub in the middle, and they sit perfectly flush. And they're magnetic. Well, they're not magnetic, but they're ferrous.
They're ferrous, yeah.
Truly amazing. Amazing.
It's not a bad start. It's better than my start.
Well, I know you guys are getting stuck in as well, but I'm at the stage now where I have 3 of those bases printed. It takes about 4 hours to print that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready to put together my first thing of militia. The reason that I'm off to a slow start is I find if I can get the process in my head, the steps, that I'm not having to go back over stuff. So at this point, I'm trying to decide whether to glue the minis down to the bases before painting, or paint the bases separately from the minis.
Paint it separately.
I think I probably will paint it separately. I've moved on to this. Do you see these corks at the back? So I got a bag of corks, and you'll notice the little Hero Quest dude on the back there. Yeah. Because the GW painting handles are lovely and all, but they're expensive. They're £5 a pop, and the difficulty is they don't hold 15mm minis or odd shaped base minis. They'll hold anything in the GW range, but once you actually start going to other really good ranges, it just won't hold them. Okay, so cork. So for the price of 1 GW butt plug, I can get a bag of 100 cork. So it is. I have more cork than Ireland at this point.
Just looking at the bag at my feet, exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same, but yeah, 100 corks, and then
you're just going to tease us, and you're not going to show us your bag.
Wait, I'll show you my bag. Wait.
Come on, I want to see all these bags.
It's under Kylo Ren's helmet.
Right. Hang on, I'll be back. I've got stuff to show you.
Oh dear. What have we done? Jerry, we've got a company to talk about soon. we got an indie of the week, folks. Here we are sitting waiting. Oh, here he is.
There. I'm back.
Hello.
So that's his bag of cork, and this is my bag of cork. Okay, so for about the cost of 1 GW jobby, you too could be the proud owner of a huge cork bag. Right, it gets better. I then asked Jerry, whenever you're painting...
Hold on, this is an obvious plug. If you do want the GW one, store.ontabletop.com.
Yes, if you prefer the butt plug, come to store.ontabletop.com. Buy merch, folk. So I said to Jerry, right, I've got these all on corks, and it's great for the painting. I really do. It's much, much easier for me now. But I asked him, how does he manage his corks? Because whenever you start to do entire squads, you've maybe 10 of these things. And then Jerry showed me his thing.
Hold on.
Do you see this?
What's it getting here? Oh,
This is I think it's a foreground paint rack for holding Vallejo paints.
So Jerry uses a Vallejo paint rack.
Yeah.
And it puts his corks in it.
It's got a tray of doom.
I thought to myself,
on the floor.
That's a genius idea. Okay. But I am a man of meager means. So I went to Poundland.
Yeah, boy.
And I got myself this.
Oh, a nail polish holder.
So a nail polish holder.
They look awfully familiar.
Okay. Have you gotten these as well, Lloyd?
I got about 50 of these flipping things.
Right. So I have two. So I will only ever do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 24 things in the painting chain at one time maximum.
Probably better.
No. They are still a little bit wibbly. See that? Okay.
They're good for holding your paints too. Look at that, peeps.
It'll only hold Vallejo paint. It won't hold the GW paint, though.
Poundland, yeah, it'll not take a GW.
And these days, all I use is contrast. So it's like it's the only paint I use is contrast. So to stop them from being a bit disorganized and wibbly like that, was it last week on XLBS I showed you guys my new basing technique with the clear bases?
Yes.
And the likes, yeah. I just clipped a few more, and I just stuck one on the bottom.
Weirdly, I was going to mention something like that before I got my paint rack. You know those circle punches you use?
Yes.
I got that, and then I got a sheet of the self-adhesive magnet.
Oh, and did it punch it?
Oh yeah.
I just have everything these days that everyone talks about. Look at
yourself
that.
A cake slice lifting tray.
Right.
Oh,
Now she's metal, but a plastic one will hold it. But even if you've got a tray of metal ones and you're not tipping them over, she'll sit quite happily on that.
well,
Yeah.
She normally would.
Yeah, she normally would, but I chuck her around like there's no tomorrow. She needs to strip down and start again because I'm not happy with the color I've chosen. But yeah, so the little the magnetic sheet will do plastics and resins a treat, and will stop metal stuff from falling by its own devices. But if you give it a poke, it will still chuck itself down because it's not.
I never thought of using the punches to actually do the
magnetic sheets. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. So yeah. I just want to do a little description. So this is my these are my demons for my Hero Quest. Okay.
If you want to know more about this Hero Quest project he's talking about wherever he is, and more about the punches and stuff, watch the XLBSs from the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I've been talking. Basically, I'm creating a family heirloom of the ultimate version of Hero Quest, and I've rescaled all of the minis down to 18 mil, and I've 3D printed all of the minis, and I'm adding extra kind of monsters. So these are a group of demons that are going to come through a blood gate and kick the ass off my children. So it's it's really good. It's really good. Anyway, back to my Parabellum, to my Conquest. So yes, now that I have I suppose now is as good a time as any to ask you. If you bring up that first print that is almost impossible for me to replicate, Lloyd, because it ended up like that because it didn't print correctly.
Yeah,
but if you bring up the first print and then the last photo of it with the
sand.
The sand and the grout and stuff in it, what do you think?
I think it needs more grout.
Well,
I think you need to put another layer on that.
You are just using sand in there.
Yes.
If you pop into B&Q and pick up brown tile grout and mix it with your sand, it's both an adhesive and a cement type of thing. And it'll give you a bit more fillage. It'll be a little bit finer. So, you'll get a mixture of coarse and fine with it. And also it'll sort of semi-color your dirt between the
but I haven't painted that yet.
I know you haven't. But
it's cool, but I think the gaps are a bit too extreme between the blocks. But then there is different types of cobblestones and stuff in the world.
I think I'm going to paint one up. just to see, because I think I could go for realism, but I suspect going for effect over realism. Like if you go back to the pictures of the dude standing on it, Lloyd, I'm tempted to keep it the kind of the slightly exaggerated, because I think once the guys and stuff are on it, you'll still pick it out. Do you know what I mean? I'll paint
still
one
look
up.
like cobblestones.
Let's
I
have
suppose
a look.
the flatter, more realistic version, you'll just end
Right.
up with a solid chunk of grey.
This one here has big gaps.
Yeah.
And this one looks even quite gappy. I suppose if you do it this look really cool with the green.
Well, that's what I want to do, is to get little bits of the green kind of foliage and stuff like that. And so, given the gaps, gives me an opportunity to do something that's a bit more, I don't know, colorful. So
sweet.
Nice.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, me too. So it's so yeah, Path of Conquest, guys. If you fancy it, would enjoy the company, by all means, come in, create a project. Like I said, you can unlock achievements in the whole way through, and there's a whole lot of prize support that'll start to come online as we progress through.
And
So
we've got loads of the new stuff in stock, ready to go over on store.ontabletop.com. So if you want to get jumped in on that, like
Buy merch.
we got all this stuff here. Look at that, in stock, ready to go.
So yeah,
the Holy Sets,
if you
plus we also
fancy
have
it,
the offer on the
some great stuff,
the
and
starter
some
bundle.
good bundles in there.
Yeah.
Right. That is that. So it is time, Jerry, for Indie of the Week.
This week I picked it.
Good man. What did you pick?
Ben's not here. Can't dump anything on him. And I've gone for Steel Fist Miniatures.
Right. Never heard of them.
No, well, that's part of
That's kind
the
of
joy.
the point of Indie of the Week, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's a relatively small, well, it's not a small range, because when you start getting into them, there's a lot going on there. But it's just 3 very specific periods, because the guys who founded it are big into their feudal periods. So from the 1400s to the late 15, early 1600s, and that's it. May go beyond that in time, but at the moment they're sticking with what they enjoy doing, and it really comes across in the sculpts as well.
I like that.
To see some stunning stuff,
because it means they're going to stay focused on a range rather than jumping around too much.
Yeah.
It's funny because we were looking at bits and pieces last week, and somebody had put up a Dark Age dog house with a dog in it. I think I was looking on the Hobby Hangout, and it was this massive sort of rocking bull mastiff, and you're going, would they've had those then? And then you see where they've actually got in here with a set of medieval dogs, because they did have specific breeds were bred at various periods, and you just don't think about that until somebody goes, you know what, I need to set a set of hounds onto some peasants.
Yeah. Where am I? Oh, here we go. Dog.
Yeah. So feudal specific doggies, which is always good. It's heck and pupper, as I believe the kids say. See, I'm down with
range
kids.
is that?
Down with kids.
14.
So the later medieval is their smallest range at the moment, with just some foot. But this is ideal for Ward the Roses, or Cressy, and the French. French wars. You've got that very stylized Gothic armor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you drop into where are we at, the Italian wars, that's where they really start to sort of shine with the range. I think this was the beginning range they started with, and it is fantastic.
Wow.
Anybody who's a fan of Games Workshop and the Empire range may recognize a similar style. Because this is where you'll get the Landsknecht and the Italian pikemen, the condottieri, and that sort of thing. So it's the very extravagant slashed silks and
you see the fact that all of the not all, but a massive source of the finest armor was actually made in Italy. So Italian armor was world renowned in that period, and that, like, if you wanted the best armor, Italy was where you picked it up from. This is incredible. So if you wanted to do like a a kind of like you just named it,
The Empire.
the Empire
Yeah.
Army.
I mean, you can
This is
even. I
absolutely
think
the way to
they've resurrected them to some extent in Age of Sigmar with cities of free
of
cities
men.
or cities of men or whatever they've called it, something strange.
I don't
But I
think.
don't think
Justin
they actually sell any of the models these days. So you can get a book to tell you how you can play your army, but you can't get the army. So
Well, no, you
know,
can't.
if you're not into your Starks, you
Yeah.
could grab these for.
I don't think
Age of
these will
Sigmar.
appeal to Justin for some reason, though.
Is it all their little cod pieces? Look,
Don't focus on the cod points.
do you know what?
Not one
If
of them's
you-
got a black Russian.
There's one of them holding his cod piece.
Hmm.
You know, so what I would do, Lloyd, is I would go through and I'd paint them all except for the cod piece on each one, and then set Justin down. Justin, can you help me here, mate? Oh, yeah, I just need you to help. Can you finish painting these for me? But they're all painted. No, I didn't get the cod pieces done, Justin. Can you go in, just finish off all the cod pieces for me, please, mate? You know, and do little decorations and stuff on them.
Some form of group therapy or version therapy, part of his contract. But yeah,
Look
so
at
the
that
Italian
hat.
wars. I mean, they're
Magnificent.
a riot of color and styles of clothing. So you can really go absolutely nuts with
Flipping
painting
out.
these up.
I'm only like halfway down that range too.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I say, this was the first range they started with, and it really shows because the amount of stuff they've done. Even picking up things like the metal heads, because I know there's a nice set of plastics out there that Warlord picked up
I know I
for
opened the
their
head somewhere.
Italian wars. Being able to
Oh, here
swap
we
in
go.
the occasional set of metal heads on them for more variety and a
Yeah.
bit more detail, just to make them pop out a bit. And there's a mighty set of mustaches on some of those guys.
Absolutely. Flipping out. We haven't even got to the flipping samurai yet.
No. I mean, you could get lost in this range for forever and a day. Those Renaissance foot knights are particularly good. And they're all in holding poses from various medieval fighting manuscripts.
Crap, I closed it.
So if we have a look at the samurai.
Oh, you want to go to the
Oh, you're
samurai?
going
Let's
back
have
to
a
the
quick.
Italian wars, are you?
Let's have a. Let's do some.
Yeah, we haven't even
Few more cav.
Oh,
even
right.
into the cav yet.
Which are Kniggets with lovely barred down as well. So
That's
that
cool.
Gothic style. The finest in the horse armor.
These are gorgeous.
Yeah. And depending if you fancy trying something different, I've seen a couple of people recently doing armor on miniatures and horses by buffing the miniatures with wire wool, get the actual metallic surface shiny,
shine it
and
up.
then firing a black wash on it. Done. Walk away. And it looks tremendous. And it looks very, very effective because the metal looks like metal. Strange
Mhm.
that.
Strange. It's a good idea.
It'd be an interesting way to try and speed paint an army of key Kniggets.
Can you do
Yeah.
your knights like that then? Just buff their armor up.
Yeah,
And then
you.
just black.
He was doing it on everything and then just going back in. Actually, he was doing it slightly more elaborately because he primed everything, painted everything, and then went back and then stripped the metal parts back down with wire wool and then washed it. I'm going, if you just get something heavily armored at the start, you can save yourself a lot of time and effort.
Yes.
Renaissance
Except
cav,
you wouldn't.
hobblers.
Except you wouldn't be able to paint any other details. Everything would
You
just
paint
have
on
to be.
afterwards. That's why God invented brush on primer.
Well,
Sleeves
I
and
guess.
faces.
But is the brush on primer going to be effective enough to stop them chipping?
Oh, aye.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because this is still my usual problem with metal minis is I just suffer chippage. It
See,
just
you wouldn't have
winds
to
me
worry
up.
about this because there's no paint on the metallics to chip. Bish bash bosh, job's a good one. See, you need a fully armored Renaissance army, and you're fine then.
Just clip all the feathers and stuff off.
Yeah, just get rid of them. Or tell people they're elaborate metal sculpts that the armor did.
Okay.
But
I
there's,
think
yeah,
we're
there's
getting to the end here. Look, more dogs. And some spears and stuff. Right. Samurai, here
what's
we
in the
come.
like. Yeah, feudal Japan, and this one is just absolutely amazing.
Oh my goodness, it's even bigger again, this range.
Yeah. And this one, and this is how I found them, believe it or not. Hashtag PathOfConquest. The spires have a very feudal Japanese look to them, with their longbows are the same as the samurai longbows, where it's a short bottom and then a very long top. They've got the sort of off the shoulder robes. I was going to say kimono, but it's not a kimono that the samurai wore. So there's these little flavors of Japan. So I started looking for Japanese feudal miniatures to get ideas for color schemes to start how to paint them. because obviously they've got very interesting floral patterns, as you can see on the Ashigaru's legs and stuff. And I'm thinking this would look great on my spires. And then I found this site and it was like, oh my Lord, look at these people. That sort of, see the bows there where it's almost 2/3 to the top and 1/3 below, which is very distinctly Japanese. The spires have that. So I just got lost in here looking at things like this, where they, that's an army standard bearer there. That's how you know Daimyo is taking the field. There's shoguns kicking around because they've got these people with their, strings to help them sail into the wind, presumably. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Like little string bearers.
Yeah. Well, that keeps the flags going, I suppose, is the way to go. And it's interesting because I was looking the other day. Test of Honor is about to get a new expansion that covers this period, the Sengoku period. And I'm going, I've always kind of and ahhed about Test of Honor. I might be interested, could give it a go. And then you start looking at these and you're going, oh, it'd be great. I just need a little shogun with a fan and a whole range of flag bearers behind him, and I need it now. That right there, that I need that in my life, and there's no reason for me not to own that, as far as I can tell. And this in and of itself is just a joy to behold. And you see things like Sherry there just sitting by himself. It's like 275. I mean, that's not even spending money, really. I'd lose more than that in the back of the chair just sitting down. At least this way I knew where it would go. But yeah, the retinues are just stunning. Everyone's just a little gem, and because the samurai were such like European knights, that they were nobility, they had the money for their own armor and equipment, and therefore it was very elaborate. And you want that to come across when you're doing it. You want them to all look fairly unique, and they've really hammered that down, where you've got these sort of levels of style between the very high-ranking members of nobility and then the sort of dungers, the Ashigaru and the like, who just get pushed into place with their hand cannons and bows and spears or whatever happens that they get armed with.
How long does it keep going for? Look at
you could literally keep going for
I'm just going to open a few of these because these look
immense. You sit there and you think of all the classic samurai films like 47 Ronin and The Last Samurai, all those classic ones.
Yeah.
The ones remade by Hollywood in color, not those ones made in Japan in black and white. That's bound to have got some heckles up in the audience, I'm feeling.
After all that grief we gave the cow horns last week, here we go, some massive horns.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
but like I said last week,
elves.
Like I said last week, the center of gravity is lower; it's down on his head rather than up here.
Yeah. It's
also he's not the center of gravity, two-handed hammer behind his back.
A bit screwed here.
I like the Yeti looking.
Yeah, but these were there. I mean, some of them had what looked like giant balls of air. Like they filled up a couple of balloons and tied them to their back.
No, do you know what that is? That's a big bubble blower.
Just run forwards.
It's just running through the fields with fire.
Out the back. Oh, that dude! I'm biting my lip with that dude with the mushroom on his back in the previous picture.
Nice. Well done. It's nice to see you growing as a man.
I want to say something. Look at the face on that red dude.
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
It does look like he shaved me to dress his outfit. If you're going to try and scare your opponent in combat, that is the way to do it.
Okay.
Everyone's a joy, and I mean, for small scale games, skirmish games, and the like, where you want a lot of character, you're going to be hard pressed to find more character than these.
How can you fight with this? It's essentially got wings.
It's like a gourd. It's magnificent.
They fought well enough for years. Then Europeans arrived with their boomsticks. All went a bit wrong.
Enough.
What is this place called?
SteelFistMiniatures.com, guys. Yeah. As Jerry says...
Oh, it wasn't even in the gallery. You're going to have to check that out later.
Like spending money.
Oh,
$2.75.
Why didn't you send me to the gallery? Oh, my goodness. We have to have 2 seconds to look at all this amazing stuff that's coming out of the gallery. Oh. Jeez, Louise. Not you. You're tiny. Oh, man.
You,
peeps.
Not you. You're tiny.
If you visit
there, works both ways.
Hit the gallery. Hit the gallery page.
Right. Steelfistminiatures.com. That was our incredibly well-deserved Indie of the Week. Next up, time for the news. Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, so we're going to be kicking things off with some news coming out of Games Workshop, and they dumped a massive amount of stuff last weekend. So there's a bit to go through, just a little bit.
Let's get stuck in.
Yeah,
just a tiny wee bit.
Just tiny wee bit.
Yeah.
So first off the bat, they've announced full 9th edition codexes, depending on your point of view, for Space Marines and Necrons, so the two forces that come in Dominus, and all the new starter sets, which is very, very cool indeed. And they've
that sounds exactly like Ben. We've got Ben back.
and they've broke down a bit of some of the things to expect from the two main books that are coming out soon. So
can I just
Marines,
say, I'm just going to interject. Okay.
Yeah.
I prefer the older artwork to that.
You're not alone. A few people have commented that it looks like something that is about 20 years old.
I'm not a fan. I don't understand, of all of the artwork that we have seen over the years of Space Marines and the likes. And I'm not even talking about going back to the Blanche type stuff. I'm not in that group either. But that just doesn't. It just doesn't look as good as it's. I
think it feels a bit washed out.
Yeah, there's something.
You're not seeing the definition.
It's just not. It just doesn't have the gravitas. It looks like a real man's head's being photoshopped in, and do you know what I mean? It just there's something.
What are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to this? Is this?
Yes. Now look at the difference.
It's a little bit more epic.
Like that is a bit more crayon compared to that. That is, yeah.
It's a bit more, I don't know. Yeah, toy range.
Yeah, it's just not as nice. Oh, I never deviate on these shows. I'm going to do a very slight deviation now, right?
So unlike you.
So, Uncanny Valley. Uncanny Valley is a human thing where if we see something that isn't completely human, we will notice it and we'll get a very strange reaction to it. So it's something they're trying to solve in video games and stuff like that. You will almost always know when something is not completely human.
Yeah.
However, of all of the animals on the planet, we're the only ones that exhibit this, because you can fool other animals with remote control cars with bits of fur slapped on them and stuff like that there, okay? So what happened in our past to give us that genetic and instinctive uncanny valley? What were we so afraid of that wasn't quite human that we developed that?
Couple of Neanderthals shaved an ape.
Well, that's what I was
saying. A rum night.
Because we come from lots of different branches of humanity. You had your Neanderthals and you had, I don't know, Diplodocus or whatever the heck they're called.
Yeah, Diplodocus, man. That was a hell of a human.
But you had loads of different species that we interbred with. Yes. So yes. I guess maybe it's a genetic trait to go, well, if I breed with you, you're probably full genetics match with me. And if I breed with you, I'll get a nice little mix and get some superpowers.
It's an interesting theory, but it's not that.
No.
It's aliens. It's aliens.
Cue Giorgio Siculus.
It is absolutely aliens, Lloyd. It is aliens.
Not aliens.
It's and I will be proved right in all of this someday soon, whenever they reveal themselves and say, "Ha ha! Other than that fat dude on the Weekender, nobody was expecting this."
Nope, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
But I was expecting it.
What do you mean? They're going to come down and go, Other than that dude on the Weekender and Mr. Ike, nobody expected.
Oh yes, other than that fat dude on the Weekender, Alex Jones and David Icke.
You're an esteemed company there, really, aren't you?
Hey, they're lucky guys. They're lucky guys to share a platform with me. So it's
very true. Very true.
But yeah, it is absolutely aliens. You know, all joking aside, it is aliens because the aliens have been in our past from the thing, and we developed an instinctive revulsion to something that was trying to pretend it was human, but not quite human. Because this is back before sunglasses were invented, right? So they didn't have the Roddy Piper sunglasses in order to be able to see what is truly going on. So,
and that is the reason you don't like the new Space Marine front cover.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Back to the Space Marine front cover. I don't like it because of that. Yes, it's uncanny.
It is.
It's an uncanny valley front cover. Get away with that one. I'm going to cut the front cover off one of the previous books and glue it onto that.
Teach their own. So yeah, it's a chunky codex that will contain all the rules for all the chapters, apparently, which is interesting considering what we're going to hear a little bit later on. You also get new command protocols and stratagems that you can use in your games, and also because they've been driving the sort of narrative side of 40k, you get things like Even in Death I Serve. So when you're playing a campaign, you can pay those requisition points to actually take a character who's been injured or died in a previous game and stick him in a dreadnought sarcophagus instead, so you don't lose him as you play through your story-based campaign. So somebody who's excelled themselves gets to stick around for a bit longer, which is
I like that.
Delightful.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Will we see what you think of this cover then?
Necrons.
Not great either. There's
they're
been
not
better.
They're not supposed to look like humans, though.
Yeah, I don't get the uncanny valley from that. You know, they're just shit terrifying. You know, so it's like, you know, I would know to run. I wouldn't have to think for a second. You know, there'd be no delay. I would run, and you guys better be careful you don't slip on my shite if you're following me. So
yeah, Necrons, like Space Marines, are getting a big chunky book filled with extended lore about their background. Also the emperor, I suppose, of the pharaoh of their entire race, the Silent King, returns, and with him a whole bunch of new abilities and ways to play your Necrons, so you can have disparate armies, disparate factions of Necrons brought together from various dynasties, or if you decide to theme it around one specific dynasty, then you get bonuses for the units on the tabletop, and you can sort of craft how you want your Necrons to play.
Yeah.
Which is very, very nice indeed.
What's in the teaser?
Well, this is what I was saying about the Space Marines. The teaser is between now and the end of 2020, so 3 months, there will be another 4 codexes coming out.
Another 4?
Another 4, including Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Death Watch, and then a Chaos one for the Death Guard. Now, they specifically said in the reveal for the Space Marine one that this is as close to the actual Codex Astartes as exists. It covers everybody, and it mentions those specific chapters. It goes, the rules are in Space Marine Codex for your Death Watch, for your Space Wolves, and then immediately afterwards go, but yeah, there'll be another book out before the end of the year, which is a relentless release schedule even for Games Workshop.
Oh, you see here, so you get Codex Supplement, and Codex.
Yeah, so they say the rules are in the Codex,
but clearly not enough of them.
But not enough of them, because there'll be then a supplemental addition to Space Marine for you to tack on. But yeah, thick and fast between now and the end of 2020. I hope they're not going to keep to that for 2021, because
who could keep up?
Yeah, nobody could keep up.
As a set, though, the artwork's nice. When you start to see them lined up together like that, they've all got an overarching theme.
Yeah. Look, there is a definite artistic style to it. I'm sure it'll grow on me, other than that Ultramarine one. I'm sure it will grow on me, but I think it's just, I personally, and it's only a personal opinion, I think it's a step down from even that art style that you showed before. I think there's something much more epic, much more about that previous one than this. This is a little bit more crouching towards the cartoony, and that's fine. Look, it is what it is. I'm not.
If we're talking about the Games Workshop sort of art style and branding, I liked it when they were doing the whole red and gray covers and stuff. I thought they were on something really cool with that stuff.
Really nice. That was a really nice period. They went through that.
They go through phases though, because there was the Kaplinskis at one stage. I think were responsible for all of the Codex covers, and so there was a very definite style running throughout those. Maybe 3 editions or 4 editions ago now, mind you.
So, artwork aside, a bigger problem is the whole rest of this year is dominated by Space Marines. Okay.
Space Marines and heretical Space Marines.
I don't know, but is anybody else getting a little bit tired of the Space Marine leases? It's almost as if it's all been Space Marines now for the last quite a while.
Yeah.
I want to see a major Imperial Guard boost. I want to see orcs. I think that these armies are.
I think everybody wants to see orcs. An awful lot of orcs.
I think they're more interesting than Space Marines. I think Space Marines has become, even the sub chapters of Space Marines, it has all become a little bit bland to me now. It's like I used to look forward to. That was a great period.
Look at this for the 7th edition stuff.
Yes. No, look at that.
No, the book covers were just doing what they were doing, but I thought they were onto something with this sort of look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very distinctive.
Really nice.
As a really nice collecting,
beautiful,
like it all tied together.
Yeah. Back to the codexes. I'm finding the Space Marine, the relentlessness of it all. To be that it's actually all starting to feel a bit bland. Well, it's all starting to feel power armored out a little bit. I want to see the guard. I want the guard to come to the forefront. I want orcs.
It would be
to come to
nice,
the forefront.
but with so many people being Marine players,
you can understand
they have to get this stuff out, and maybe this relentless rush to the end of the year is just to take care of them.
Maybe, and then next year,
2021 will actually have
2021. People got to be the year for the orcs and for the Imperial Guard.
Well, we're talking about the Space Marines, but let's not forget the Necrons have been receiving a ton of love this year.
Yeah, but they'll be done and dusted by the end of 2020 as well. I think most of the stuff will be out for the Necrons as the sort of the new big evil, so it'll give them a chance to.
I don't envy them. They have the difficulty is. As every edition and every year goes by, more and more gets added to the lore and to the gameplay mechanics of these the Space Marine factions. So it's a huge undertaking for them to do a new edition, because you have to go back over all of that. I don't envy it at all. I really don't. It's a massive undertaking, and I just wonder, how they what does the future hold? It's like the length of time between 8th and 9th felt fairly quick to me. So
I think it did to a lot of people. I don't know whether or not
next Christmas will we be looking at 10th? It's it's shortening the window.
Just one stat, cool.
We'll see. It won't be next Christmas. No, you're obviously we're going to get 2-3 years out of this, but I really hope next year does, because the reason do you know what? This might be less to do with me feeling disengaged with the Space Marines, as it's probably more like pumped up excitement for just what they are capable of doing to the Imperial Guard and to the orcs. This could be a case of I'm more excited about, because I know it's going to be incredible, than maybe me being tired of the whole power armor kind of thing. It's maybe my excitement levels are just creeping up just big time on the other area. So we'll see. What else we got, Jerry?
So we have some miniature releases as well. One half which will really excite you, and the other half, which based on the last conversation, will depress you.
Okay.
Try and keep it together. So should we kick off with the Necrons then, Lloyd?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do that.
So first, right off the bat, we have the Silent King himself
Yes.
on his floating throne, the leader of an empire,
Piece of kit.
and he looks like a terrible, terrible man. That is half of a Catan bound up above him that he's siphoning the energy off. So for the want of a demigod, wasn't capable of standing up to the power of the Necrons. And it's an unusual beast. Like most things in 40k now, it's got a boatload of wounds, and his stat line reflects somebody who has a demigod strapped to his battery pack. Essentially, he is going to mow through most things that are out there, and it will require an awful lot of time and effort expended to remove him from the battlefield. And I imagine if people are doing that, then they're not really focusing on any of the other things that are creeping about and killing them horribly.
Just a big scary focal point.
Yeah, he will pretty much destroy a lot of armies by himself. I can see why Robo Gulliman will be running around on a lot of battlefields now, because he's finally going to meet somebody who kick his toys in and send him on his way.
It's a good addition because, like, you know, we went through a period where every Necron army you've seen was just like a monolith and another monolith.
Yeah.
That was their big beasties. The fact that they've continued to add big new scary things into the Necrons is really cool for breaking up that monotonous of troops and a monolith.
They've added some interesting characters and interesting new units as well. If we kick on, you can see the likes of the Chronomancer next, who is, as Psychic Awakening has done, it's added a lot more to the psychic powers in 40k, and the Chronomancer allows you to do various things, whether it's friendly units can reroll their charges, or you can essentially hold people in stasis so your opponent loses the ability or halves his movement as he's coming towards you, giving you more time to prepare. He has a very squid-like feel. He reminds me of the Sentinels from
the Matrix.
The Matrix, yeah. But he's also got a bit of a Hellboy vibe going on with all his floating stasis cubes around him. And I imagine seeing things like this creeping around on the table will give people pause for thought. I also quite like how they've decided that just because they're Necrons, they don't all have to be bipedal. That out there are people, you know, who, when they were putting their consciousness into a body, went, why be limited? Why be limited by 2 legs when I can creep across the ground on, you know, a whole bunch of little cephalopods tentacles?
On a plethora
of
legs.
And his massive chin beard there is just, you know, it's Jimmy Hill-like in its extravagance. But it's a really nice model. I'm a big fan of him. He also comes, well, he doesn't come with, he also has a partner in crime, the Psychomancer. Less fond of him for one reason.
Weird digital thing.
It's that weird digital thing. It's supposed to be a psychic energy. He projects a dread aura like the Nightbringer Catan does, which reduces people's morale. So he's great as a debuff to your opponent's units. I'm getting this thing, if it's supposed to be psychic energy, why does it come out looking like a 3D game of Tetris? The first time I looked at it, I didn't actually see the skull at the front. I was so distracted by all the strange angular motion of it. And it just seems very jarring to the rest of them who's, you know.
But when you get to this level, psychic abilities and magic abilities are much the same, you know, and technological abilities is indistinguishable.
It's indistinguishable,
Well, that's it. Magic is just technology that you aren't capable of knowing. He just looks like his psychic power has failed to load correctly, and he should hit F5 to manifest that. But yeah.
I like his finger just sticking out.
Yeah, just
like, yo, dude, I'm gonna zap you with my magic.
He's a bit cool. And again, he's another non-bipedal Necron. Yeah. So he's a little bit woo, a little bit weird. He's almost like a Naga, like a serpentine sort of form. So he's
cool.
Delightful. Yeah.
What's next?
We have the Ophidian Destroyers.
Ooh.
So this is an unusual little set because they phase in and out of existence.
The higher up they are, the more tentacles you get.
I don't know if it's deliberately the higher up they are, the more tentacles you get. These ones have chosen a single tentacule for reasons, but they are a sort of an infiltrating unit that infiltrates in an unusual way. They slice open little pocket dimensions and appear right up close and personal. They can get within 9 inches of an enemy unit, and they have a movement of 10 inches themselves. So that's a threat you don't want to see coming at you. I think you can get up to about 6 in a unit, and they can really go to town. So
we probably can't get any closer than 9 inches with a big tentacle like that.
Well, no, you would want to keep your space.
That's a definite 9-inch tentacle, right?
That is a 9-inch tentacle.
Right, what's next?
We rounded out with my favorite unit for
the fleshy ones.
Flayed ones.
The flayed ones.
Yeah.
Flayed ones, when they came out years ago in metal, I love them because they were supposed to be some sort of creeping, stalking, terrifying unit.
They looked good, but they were hard to keep together. They kept falling apart.
And they always reminded me of, Necrons as a race have spent so long disassociated with humanity and with, living flesh, that it felt like that they were an infiltrating unit who were trying to get into, forward positions by disguising themselves as humans, but weren't really sure how to do it. Just like skin their opponents, drape it on themselves, and then walk forward thinking they're going to get through enemy lines. And then everybody runs screaming from them or starts firing. And they just don't understand why. It's like,
so we're back into human history then. This is what happened. Flayed ones tried to get us.
I imagine this is exactly what happened.
With their dangly arm.
They keep walking forward like the Martians from Mars Attacks. Do not run, human. We are your friends.
Here, man.
We are your friends.
It's nice. That's a nice iteration of the flayed ones.
Yeah.
Because the previous iteration of flayed ones, they weren't flayed, if I remember correctly.
No, they started as flayed, and then they lost it, I think, when they went to the last metal / resin version. But this hard plastic flayed ones, and they look great. I like seeing arms and limbs dangling off people. I like seeing skin stretched over shoulder pads. It's a delightful setup. Now, clearly somewhere they have Necron slave servitors who do that for them, because there's no way they are putting those on themselves with those long fingernails. So just before a battle, they've got to go and sit there while their makeup Necron comes and preps them.
That's a good point. I never thought of that. How does Edward Scissorhands dress himself?
How does he wipe his backside?
Oh, yeah.
B-days. B-days are...
B-day! B-day! That's the way.
Right. Show me the Space Marine ones, Jerry.
Back of Marines.
Can we delay it? Can we delay it any longer?
No. There is a wealth of Space Marines coming. So this is a mixture of some new units for 9th edition, and also some new versions of existing units where they've brought them into sort of multi-part. So they start with a heavy intercessor captain who's rocking the Mark 10 Gravis armor. It's all right. These are the guys who normally wear the moon boots bouncing around the place. The fact that they're not wearing their moon boots mean they all are rocking Cuban heels, which you can just see on that foot on rock. So it looks like it's a whole Primaris section of prints with the little heels to help them be a bit taller than other Marines. He's a nice enough figure. That he's rather nondescript, because I suppose you can paint him as anybody. I imagine when we start seeing some more of these for chapter specific, they'll go a bit more to town. But I'd hoped with this edition, with the Primaris, they would try and dress them up a bit more. I mean, these are at least starting to get details on them. Previous Primaris were so undetailed to the point of blandness. So yeah, he is going to be kicking around, and heavy intercessors are coming next. Which are when you need more Marine in your Marine, I think.
This dude.
Toughness 5, 3 wounds, and a massive gun. This is a troop that people will not be lifting off the table with any ease. So I imagine that's probably going to upset an awful lot of non-power armor players.
What's he doing with this gun?
He's got a clip that he's about to slam in,
All right, there.
So there were a few others. The other pictures that I'd found are more or less standard Marine poses, shooting and the like, but I like that guy who's actually doing something with his life. So we also have the Eradicator, as you can see there, who are all armed with melta guns, and you can also get one with multi-melta, and again, they've all got ridiculous toughness in all the wounds. The multi-melta has got a new profile for 9th edition, meaning most vehicles are going to just start turning into puddles of slag as soon as they come rocking up on the place. And this is a multi-part version of the Eradicators that I think exist as not snap fit, but unipose models already from some of the other kits. Likewise, we have the Assault Intercessors, again, another multi-part version of an existing kit, just giving you a bit more variety for your Marine forces on the tabletop. And the Blade Guard Veteran. So the last of our infantry troops. So the Blade Guard, they're relatively cute. They've got a bit more going on.
It's Kenny Rogers.
He looks a bit Kenny Rogers like. I'm a bit disappointed they didn't paint him with black skin and make him go, full BA.
Oh, we could have went BA.
Yeah, because they've started doing that sort of African skin tones.
But until then, he's definitely
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers. He basically attacks while singing "Islands in the Stream." And there'll be a dolly on the part of the battlefield there somewhere, bouncing around, and he's there singing "Islands in the Stream." Kenny Rogers is amazing. I've seen Kenny Rogers live, right? Kenny Rogers has this thing that he does at his gigs. He's dead now. This thing that he did at his gigs, right? Mm-hmm. And where he'll say to someone in the front row of the audience, "Do you know how many number one hits I've had?" And they'll go, He says, "I tell you what, every time I play a song, if you think it was a number one hit, put up your hand and I'll give you $100."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then he started playing through these songs, and every one of them was a number one hit. And he was just chucking $100 a time at this person.
Show off.
He's had a huge number of hits. So he has. And now he's been
immortalized as a Primaris.
Yeah. Awesome.
The Blade Guards, I think, is what I was expecting more from the Primaris. They've got little bits of detail on them. They've got these unusual, I suppose the top of the knee pads and stuff. There's that bit more detail to them. I think we're definitely going to see 9th edition is going to sideline regular Space Marines. I think that's why they're sort of there. They're Primaris is the way of the future, and they're all just relatively nondescript, I think.
A new land speeder.
Not the land speeder, but the storm speeder. This comes in 3 flavors. So we've got the hammer strike variant.
Wheels.
There is not one with wheels.
Okay.
But
it wouldn't be a speeder if it had wheels, for goodness sakes.
But they have alternative top mounts. So the turret there at the back with the little fella with his missile pods. We have...
That's a bad place to be. When those missiles go, and there's just a big load of flame in your face.
Oh, there's another version where he's got like 2 anti-infantry machine guns right beside him. So the barrels are just there. And people have been posting pictures of him online saying it's brother Captain Tinnitus.
Oh, that's him.
So that it comes with 3 flavors. So anti-tank, anti-air, and anti-infantry. And it's a lot of people have been sort of hating on it. But as I say, I think this is just showing the direction they're going. The Primaris are just going to supplant the standard Space Marines, and this is just a land speeder that has been upgraded for the Primaris. So
where do you see the Primaris Rhino and the Primaris Land Raider? That'll set because the Land Raider is going to come out alongside the Primaris Terminators. So it's that'll put the fox among the chickens there.
Oh, it really will. So the Necrons and Marines and a whole dose of Codexes. Like I say, GW have had a busy week in the 40k universe.
Awesome stuff.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Right. What's next?
Well, moving away from 40k, but sticking with GW, they have a supplement coming out for the Lord of the Rings Middle-earth strategy battle game called Quest of the Ringbearer.
Yeah.
And this is they say it's a supplement. It's fairly jam-packed. I would almost say if you're a fan of Middle-earth, it's probably required reading because it contains so much in there. it starts off with 28 scenarios that plot Frodo's journey from the Shire all the way to Mount Doom, and starts at Maggot's Field with Sam, Pippin, and Merry, and Frodo sort of being chased around by Farmer Maggot and his dogs, and then ends with dropping the ring in, hopefully, and not getting your finger bit off by Smeagol. But the way they've set these out is things that came from the films that may not be a particularly good 1v1 or 2v2 scenario. They've turned into mini games. So where you've got like them attempting to escape Moria and go up through the path in the mountains, and then get snowed in, has become a race game. And they've done this so that you can actually play the whole trilogy out on the tabletop, whether it would actually be a specific fighting scenario or whether it's just a iconic part of the film, the trilogy, or the books that you just want to play out on the tabletop. They've worked out ways to do it where it's, they're not just glossing over parts because they're not actually battles. They've gone, well, let's do this scenario as a game, and throwing these little mini game narratives in there as well. They've also tied this together with a new campaign system so that you can actually link the games. You can play them all individually if you want, or you can link them and you'll get benefits or some debuffs if you happen to run into issues along the way. So you can play your campaign that way. If you're not into the campaigning, though, they've also included 4 new minor heroes, and they show off a couple of them in the news article there, which are 2 of the rangers who hung around with Faramir. And there's also 2 goblins, or goblin orc as well, for the evil faction.
Where?
They're not in there.
Oh,
there's the rangers, yeah. But they have said that the goblins are coming as well. And these are worked into the match play side of things. So if you are more into the actual battle games rather than the narrative story, they have these, and they also have 6 new Legendary Legion lists. Try saying that 3 times fast. And these are things like having the all 9 Nazgul running around, losing friends every time. I imagine anybody who puts all 9 on the table will probably lose all their friends immediately. But for matched play games where you just want to make your opponent cry, ideal. So they have things like that. They also have the Balrog and the goblins for Moria specific list, and then they have the Dunedin Rangers and these sort of things. So you've got this more competitive match play version.
I gotta get me this. This guy looks great.
That's the King of the Undead, and that is the sort of the last part of the new book, is a fantasy fellowship. So they've resurrected rules that they had published about 20 years ago from a White Dwarf, where you can essentially make your own fellowship using any of the characters, and they explain how to do that. So if you look at it and you go, you know what, I would never have brought Boromir and Aragon. They're terrible. I would have had a couple of walkers of Rohan and a hobbit on the end of a lance and 3 of those eagles. In fact, there's a fellowship right off the bat. If I can just have 3 eagles and somebody to drop the ring in, I'm done. But it explains how you can go about picking your favorite heroes and playing through then the narrative campaign with those instead of the actual. So if you think about Shaun of the Dead, they keep meeting that other group who are very similar to them. They're having their own. And actually, I imagine it's exactly the same as this. You've got the Fellowship A team going around, and then you've got your little B Fellowship with Radagast going badly in the background, thinking that they've got the real ring, but they've just been sent out there to die horribly by Elrond. I imagine he does that all the time. I mean, I would.
God bless Peter Jackson. Because the Lord of the Rings, at the time, I didn't appreciate it just so much. But now, it is the finest fantasy movie series ever made. It's just nothing even really comes close. I'll tell you why, Joe.
Deathstalker.
Right?
Except Willow.
With my hero questing, right, I got in the mood for a bit of sword and sorcery. So I thought to myself, there's bound to be a sword and sorcery movie out there that I've never actually seen. And I went hunting, and Legend was there with Tom Cruise and stuff. And that was all right. I'd seen that, and I looked at them all. And then I just one.
This isn't the only crappy movie that you could dig up in this.
Oh, no. I mean, there are so many more.
So this one is called Barbarian. No.
I like how it's the Barbarian Brothers.
Yes. So these are the Barbarian twins, starring as the Barbarians, right? And right. How do I put this?
Was it everything you dreamed of and so much more?
Look, it's not often you have to take a break multiple times while watching a movie. But
Nice.
this movie is not one that I was able to get through in one sitting. This has taken me about 5 sittings with a break in between in order to get through this, because it gets to the point where I'm basically screaming at the telly like, what the but then I can't resist going back for more. So the casting in this is incredible, right? It's just, you will spend the entire movie going, how
Who are these people? Why are they
how
there?
did this ever get made? So yeah, I make it as far as a point where they basically they break out of character and turn into basically a couple of roided up muscle heads. And then I have to stop it for a while, and then I go back to it again. So it's a multiple sitting movie. And yeah,
At least you get your money's worth out of it.
Peter Jackson, you are now a god among humanity. We should try to keep Peter Jackson immortalized. We'll chip in and get him a cryogenic chamber or something, so that other generations in the future can benefit from him, and we never have to really witness anything quite like the Barbarians again.
Not just going to freeze his head in a bucket then.
Right, let's move on. What's the next piece of news, Jerry?
So next up, we have a game coming from Osprey in November, and this has been written by Ash Barker. So Ash, who people know from Guerrilla Miniature Games Online and his previous game, Last Day Zombie Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone back to the apocalypse, but this time Gamma Wolves is all about mech combat in a post-apocalyptic world.
Right.
So it's going to be a miniatures agnostic game, like a lot of the stuff that comes from Osprey is, and the whole idea behind it is you've got these roving bands. If you imagine the mechs are like protection for sandcrawlers, so in this blasted, twisted, radiated earth, you're looking for not just wealth but resources to bring back to your hive city, essentially, where people are sort of cowering, and they're protected by these lances of mechs. You can build them up from anything you have, and there's rules for how you actually build your mech, or frame as they're called in the game, along with the pilots who are in them. So the bases are set at certain sort of minimum and maximum sizes. So if you've got things like a Dust Walker, that could be a mech, or a Gundam model could be a mech, or some actual mech models could be mechs. You know, you can go nuts with this. As long as it fits on a base, you can go, okay, it fits on this size base, therefore it's going to be a light mech, and then I'm going to put a decent pilot in him. Maybe I'll make him an ace, and then work out the loadout that's going on it. There's some interesting little details that he's worked into the game itself. So when somebody gets a lock on, so you've got arcs of fire, so everybody's base has got to be sort of marked off in the cardinal compass points, so 90-degree angles. When somebody gets close enough to lock on your mech, that's when they find out what your loadout is. So that's when you discover, once you've got close enough to a light mech, that he's got no armor at all and the biggest gun he could fit on the chassis, maybe. Up until that point, you don't know what you're really facing because you don't have visual range, so you don't really have that WYSIWYG issue where people go, well, that's got that, I know it's got that, therefore I'm going to avoid it like the plague. You might get up close and personal to discover it's got a tiny pew-pew machine gun, and everything else is doing the damage somewhere else.
I like that. That's a cool fog of war dynamic right there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He's also got a mechanic that's similar to the way Dead Zone or Dreadball works, where you've got a set number of dice. So you always start a test with 3 dice, and then the dice are modified not by the value you need to roll, but by the amount of dice you roll. So you start with your 3 dice test, and then maybe you've got a good pilot, so he's going to get 1, and then he's got a gun with 3 dice. So you just really roll like 6 or 7 dice. it means picking it up, it should be very intuitive and very quick to do. You can just, grab a handful of dice and whatever miniatures you have kicking around and then just get stuck into it. So what we're looking at here, there's a little 20-page preview on the Osprey blog. So it goes up for pre-order shortly and then it's released in November. But it gives you a very good idea of the sort of the dynamics of the game and the themes behind it, along with a little brief history of what Earth is like in the 23rd century. So that should be fascinating to see what people do, because mechs are sort of underrepresented. I know obviously in computer gaming there are things like Warframes out at the moment, and then Mech Warrior and things like that do very well on the PC and on consoles, but we never really see it come across as much on the tabletop. So this may give people the option to just sort of dive in, and the fact you can use anything you've got.
Well, that's the cool thing, because I was thinking, I've got some Dust Walkers kicking about. I'll dig them out of the shelf and maybe spec them up, because part of the problem with trying to fit them into other games is people look at them and go, well, there's all the wrong weapons. This game don't care.
Exactly. It doesn't care. Things like Infinity, I've got an awful lot of mechs and tags and small robots that could easily go onto the tabletop as well. Or there's a whole world of 3D printing out there. So I know John has done a big mech on 3D print, and being able to just go, it's a nice figure to paint, but how about you slap it on a table and get stuck in as well?
Right. Next up, we have War Games Atlantic with the heavy weapons teams for Le Grognard.
Yeah. Le Grognards, I was kind of blown away when I seen these. I'd already seen the standard infantry, and people have been at them going, well, doing infantry is nice, but I want to field a whole army. A lot of 40k players especially have been using these as Imperial Guard. So they went back and went, okay, we're going to do a heavy weapon set, kind of loosely based on a French World War I artillery chassis, for two of them anyway, which is where you see those big wheels. So you've got a plasma gun style weapon, that quad battery, sort of anti-air, or could be like a heavy bolter or an autocannon. It's up to you how you want to use it in your game. Then they've also got a couple of weapons that are mounted on like a tripod. So that again could be another autocannon type thing. I quite like he's got a periscope set of handlebars in the back that he's peering to target with, which just, it has that mix of sci-fi and sort of old tech that is quite a nice blend together. And there's a mortar as well, or some sort of massive belt-fed mortar. You can see there a gentleman at the back with a lovely metal Imperial Eagle style thing, and this they threw in at the end because people were going, okay, heavy weapon sprues coming, great. And they went, yeah, we've got enough to make the heavy weapons in there, but we've got room in the box, so we're also going to include a command sprue, so you can actually do a full Imperial Guard army. You can do your commanders. You've got a medic, you've got comms, you've got a couple of different officers with their awesome hats, even a little sniper in there. There are wine bottles on the sprues because they're space French. I don't know if there are baguettes on the sprue. I hope to God there are, but if not,
Got a green stuff.
Green stuff them and get the baguettes.
Just make wee rolls, a couple of wee slices.
You
go.
I'm not saying we're all taking the mic. I've also added a few female heads. When you can see the gunner there is a female head. At the moment, there aren't enough to do a completely female range, but every head type, and they do bear skins, cappies, and the Adrian style metal helmets. Each of them will have a few female heads. So depending on how you have been building your grognards, you can have the option, if you want to throw a few women in there as well to help fight the good fight in the 41st millennium, then that will definitely be a thing.
Love this range.
Yeah,
absolutely love this range.
These will hopefully be shipping around December. They're currently being tooled at the moment, so this is some of the stuff they're working on for the box art. And I thought, yeah, that quad gun in and of itself is enough to make me buy it, because it's a really simple look on it with that domed gun shield. And I'm just thinking, just get an Imperial Guard Valkyrie and stick those on as your door gunners.
Yeah.
It's just, it's unique. I've never seen anybody else do it.
Opportunities for this.
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so.
War Games Atlantic then.
We have Mantic Games have announced Armada.
So this one, they semi-teased it for a couple of weeks that they were releasing something naval-based, but nobody really knew what it was. And then in the middle of this week, they dropped it, that Armada is coming out. So this is for all those who miss the likes of Man of War. It takes place in the Mantic Kings of War universe, so on Panathor, and they're going to be releasing 2-player starter set with the hegemony of Basileia, who are the paladin-like. I'm not going to say they're the good guys because they're so good they're bad on occasion. If they see a cancer, sometimes it needs to be cut out by the root, and they'll do that. The marauding orcs are also there with some unusual ideas behind their ship, including that massive double-ended brass fist.
Which one are we looking at? Oh, here.
Oh, that one there, yeah.
Is there a close-up of that? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, imagine that spinning towards you. You don't want a double fisting. That would be horrendous. So they've actually comboed up with Warlord Games on this one. The core mechanics, rules mechanics, are Warlord's Black Seas. Their naval game they released last year. And then Matt, their rules writer, has gone in and tweaked it a bit, so some things have changed. So it's not just Black Seas with magic. There've been a few little tweaks on some of the mechanics and how things are going to go. They've also decided all the ships are going to be in resin. So we're looking at resin models in the 2-player starter set, and then there will also be, I think, towards the end of the year, a Dwarven fleet and the Empire of Dust. So their version of the sort of the Egyptian undead are also getting fleets. So it'll be fascinating to see where this goes, because I really like how Black Seas works as a game. Man of War fell down for me when they started introducing things like Dwarven steam-powered ships and Elven ships that worked on magic into a game where everybody else was using sailing ships. So if you could ignore the wind, you became very overpowered, or if you had flying dragons, that sort of thing. So I'll be keen to see if they strike the balance between the wind-powered ships and those that may not require it, because they don't want to go the same way. Generally, Mantic are fairly clued in when it comes to game balance. So it'll be fascinating to see how this breaks down, and that'll be coming out in November as well. I'm hoping to get a look at it before it launches. Just currently tickling Robert under the chin to see if he'll send us one over. But
happy day.
I like to do like the ships. No rigging. Did you notice that? No,
we did notice that.
No thread to be tied.
Rigging.
I don't need to go frigging in the rigging.
It just before you move on, it always surprises me that people zero in on the fleet battles games. They never seem to be that popular, but people keep releasing them. So maybe there's a hidden player base that you just don't know about it.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what
Naval Gazers Lloyd.
Yeah, that's very good. We like
I
that.
guess.
Depending on what you like. I mean, a lot of people who are big into their naval games would play on a smaller scale.
Yes.
So this is the poser scale. This is the 28 mil of.
Yeah, this is the 28 mil
of tiny fighting ships.
Yeah.
But the fleets themselves are sort of 6 to 9 models makes a fleet. So even though there are going to be resin, it's a relatively small buy-in and a small playing area to play on as well. I think it's 2x3 up to 6x4 for the massive full-on engagements. So.
Well, hopefully it won't be a fleeting experience.
Hey!
Right. We're going to take a swish. When we come back, we're going to hit you up with some Kickstarters. Does Warhammer 40k rock your world? Check out store.ontabletop.com today, where you can save up to 20% across a wide range of hobby games, tools, and paints, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Star Wars, Flames of War, Bolt Action, and many other incredible ranges. We are based here in Northern Ireland and rated 5 out of 5 on Trustpilot.
Okay, so Kickstarter time. I've picked a pair of Kickstarters, one for you, Warren, and one for me.
Nice.
So we'll start off with one for you, because age before beauty. So I've gone with Starship V.
Before the brush.
Starship V, or 5, if you're into your Roman numerals. Sleipnir, which is Odin's 8-legged horsey. And this is from Ben over at Second Dynasty. We've seen several of his Starship collections before. He's done various things like collections of starships and add-ons. This time around, he's gone for one monstrous rocket ship set vertically and builds level by level. And it is a thing of beauty / madness. but there's some really interesting things about it. It uses his open lock peg system, so you can assemble and unassemble it, which means you can actually lay it all out
Through it.
on a table in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting so much details on the inside.
oh no, he goes the whole hog whenever he does it, including the professionally lit and filmed videos that
Yeah.
he does. That's generally done by Hannes, a Swedish director who's worked on music videos for top people and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, and also these Kickstarter videos for your little STL spaceships, which is just madness. But yeah, it's an outstandingly big construction. He reckons if it was scaled up to proper size, to life size, it would be almost 50 meters long or 165 feet in old money. But in this, you've got a deck building system, so you can populate the levels with specific things if you want to have more living quarters or more storage space or whatever it happens to be, to put your own ship together. And I mean, as a centerpiece, amazing. As something to play through, especially the likes of sci-fi horror games like Alien, it's kicking about at the moment. Can you imagine actually trucking through this while being pursued or having to find out what's causing you your issues? And you can see there the various levels of the ship itself. It's just insane. I'm surprised you couldn't actually just put a rocket in and shoot it off en masse itself.
I like the fact. Sorry, Jay.
No, I was just going to say, right down to the fusion core engine. You know, it's all been worked out. How would this thing go? How's the best way to set it out? How would people's life be on board this ship?
I like the fact that it's all vertical as well. When we're coming from a scientific point of view, because here it is on its side. But if you imagine if it's got this fusion reactor, it's probably able to put out 1G worth of acceleration constantly. So you would have gravity onto all of these floors.
Yeah.
So they're all in the right direction, because if they'd been laid sideways for some reason, it would be wrong. You'd just be splat against the wall.
Yeah. It's more hard sci-fi than space opera, like some of his previous stuff, where we've seen Star Wars-esque ships and Battlestar sort of stylish ships. Whereas this is, this is something you could see being developed in the launch to Mars or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And he's also got a couple of very talented 3D artists working on crewmen for him, because this is something that's come back from previous Kickstarters, that the ships are great, but we want actual people in there as well. So there's a set of 5 crewmen who are just very down to earth. It's very space truckers like the original crew from Alien. They're not super duper Marines. They are just a bunch of space truckers going about their work, and they just look absolutely sensational because it's got that very grounded feel to them.
That's beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
The version that's painted was painted by our buddy Brian, Templars Crusade. He painted that one there. Did a lovely job on it.
He's talented. He should do that for a living.
Mm-hmm. So,
it's
great.
You can get in at various levels, obviously, from just the basic bare bones to going all in for
get all the ships.
Yeah, well, not just all the ships, but also all the extra detailed interiors and being able to swap around and play back and forward. So having access to the previous 4 versions of Starship as well is handy if you've missed out on any previously, because it's, they're stunning as gaming pieces, they're stunning as set down pieces, they're stunning just sitting in the corner of your room looking spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with what they've managed to do there again.
Oh, I assume they're not really anticipating gravity at times. Like, they've got floaty versions.
Yeah, well, that makes
and
sense.
standy versions.
Just get yourself some clear acrylic rod or invisible string, and just hang them around the place. Just go full Jerry Anderson. Just go Muppets on it.
I like the rover and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm into the rocket side of things because I like watching like a lot of YouTube channels about rockets and stuff like that. The SpaceX and all that jazz. And I like the fact that it is built in a fashion. I do like this laid up thing where it's all built in a fashion where it looks like it could actually work.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's the little sort of realistic touch is just really nice to see. And also the various ways you could lay it out. I seen somebody a while ago had a 3D game being played vertically, and they had like a retort stand type of thing that you'd have in a science lab, and then with a level, and it twisted almost like a set of spiral stairs, and each twist was a new level. So it maintained its sort of verticality, but you could still get access inside it. Or, like I say, just lay it on the table.
The other cool thing about the way they've designed this one is because it goes up, I would assume that they could maybe release new decks as well. So you could swap in stuff and out.
You can probably expand it as well.
Because I've seen it like a rover thing down there. It would be cool to have like a double-sided deck with the rover and an ability and a crane to push it out and drop it down onto the planet.
Yeah, I just
really
keep it up near the top. Just
or just round here, or replace this with something that can open and then out it comes and drops down.
Well, I think that cargo bay there is a double deck with a gantry. If you look closely.
Oh, that's his door. Yeah, maybe it just parks in there and out it goes.
See.
It's not quite as cool.
They're ahead of you already.
It's not quite as cool as the Dianetics lander for the moon.
No.
Right? The Dianetics lander that they've proposed to the moon literally lands down, and then the crew capsule can drop out and be on wheels and just drive away. And that's your
Thunderbirds, isn't it?
That is your rover, is your lander. Just drop out and drive away.
It's a brave new world.
Right. 16 days to go on that one, guys. So if you fancy a bit of Starship 5, head on over and to Kickstarter and find the Second Dynasty Kickstarter on that. Right, Jerry, that was one for me. Now one for you.
So a couple of weeks ago, we looked at these guys as the Indie of the Week, and it is Demented Games and Twisted, and they have just hit Kickstarter with their Monstrous Marvels, and it's a fairly small Kickstarter. It's a set of 4 large-scale creatures for games of Twisted. So this is a steampunk feeling game, and they're an unusual set of 4. Each one is designed to fit with a specific faction, but at the same time, they're also, in game terms, they're free agents. So it doesn't matter if you collect a particular faction already for Twisted. If you really like the look of one, it can be played in your faction regardless. So if you're a traditionalist, a bluff old traditionalist who wants everything to look the same, then you can certainly go ahead and do that. They are themed, and the story and background behind them for things like the sewer golem for the guild. They've got that feel, they've got that tone and story behind them. If you want to have just some weird thing like a spinning drilling seat that's kind of spiderish because you just want to drill somebody's face out, you can do that regardless of who you actually go for. So they've got these 4 large creatures, the Sphinx, the sewer golem, the long horse, I think it is, or long ma, the dragon horse, and one more that I'm forgetting. I'll see.
Well, it'll pop up.
Yeah. And they've got some really interesting little touches. So, for example, the sewer golem there with the Urkin sitting on top just fishing, he's just a little Kickstarter bonus. He doesn't have to sit on there. And if you remove him, you've got this unusual sort of sewer with these 2 little almost slug-like eyes peering out from between the grills, which is just bizarre / baffling. I think I don't want to criticize their painter because they're much better than me, but there's a lot of green going on there, and it detracts from it because the green sludge kind of blends with the green rocks, and there's just a bit too much green, so you kind of lose the feel of it. But I quite like him just sort of lifting the sewer grate off to wing into somebody's head or deal with in their own way. Apart from the big creatures that they've done, the likes of the tumbling spinner there, they've also a set of sort of add-ons coming, which can be picked up as well. So if you want to grab some of the add-ons, which are almost as large as these creatures anyway, so like the scarab mummy is a massive beast on a 40mm base.
Where do you want me looking at these on the page?
Just keep going down. Just keep going down. We'll hit them and I'll pause you when we get there. So the add-ons, they can add sort of more interest to the model. So in some cases, there's a character called Duval that is specifically a rider for that spinner. So he will only fit on that spinner. There's no point getting him by himself. Or you can go ahead and pick up some of the others that you'll see. Here we go. So Shadowy Guild Agent, we haven't seen yet. So the Demi Sphinx there and the Scarab Mummy, I think is probably the next one, which are miniatures of them in their own right that can sit and play on the game. Or there's the insidious Count Duval, who is there controlling his unusually sort of octopus version of the spinner rather than
yeah.
having the big drill on it, which is just a nice thematic touch again. So if you are a big fan of Twisted, you can go whole hog on these. I think they're particularly nice just from a painting character point of view as well. Scarab Mummy.
Its cod piece is amazing.
Funnily enough, I've said that in the news article I wrote earlier this week. If your skull cod piece's eyes are glowing, then it's probably time to back away. And it's got these unusual sort of scarab wings, and I think for painters out there who just want to do something weird and different, doing like a beetle carapace in color flip paints or
kind of a thing,
pearlescence would just look amazing. And the detail they get into with their sculpts is, like we see it in the end of the week a few weeks ago, it's absolutely stunning. So it's a very small Kickstarter. They're not trying to do a whole new faction or a ton of stuff. It's just these 4 very distinctive larger creatures that you can add into your games to mix up how your companies play in the Twisted world for the engine, or you can absolutely go nuts instead and just get them for the painting opportunity.
Right. 13 days left for the Twisted Monstrous Marvels. Nice choices, Jerry. Nice choices. Right, folks, remember, if you can join us tomorrow morning over for XLBS, we're going to go through some of the projects that we're working on and some of the projects that the community's working on, and just go on the ins and outs of some interesting kind of hobby tips and things like that as we discover them. Right. Thank you, guys, for taking us through another week of gaming. And most importantly, and as always, thank you for watching at home. Remember to help us share till we get to that 100,000 mark. We've got big plans for that. Thanks, guys. Have a great week of gaming.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.